Yeah, so hello everyone, welcome to our founders webinar, which we themed around Strive. Fun fact, actually very important fact, THub has completed its 5 years of operating this November. And in this month, the theme is Strive. We are celebrating our hustling journey of our entrepreneurs, the success stories of our entrepreneurs. In this lines, this webinar is to celebrate those success stories of our community entrepreneurs who have gone through a rough phase during this pandemic and how they have overcome it. So this webinar is special in its own way for a reason. It's not going to be just like any other webinar where we talk on one question and other panelists answer, but here on we try to understand the different side of our entrepreneur's journey, the emotional side of it, and some elements where we don't really talk about, right? Before we go ahead, for anybody who have did not interact with our ecosystem prior, I'll just give a quick glimpse of what is T-Hub. T-Hub enables and empowers an ecosystem hungry for innovation. As you all know, we are based in Hyderabad, India. We lead India's pioneer innovative ecosystem that powers next generation products and new business models. So if you want to know more, please visit our website. And for all the existing startups who are joining from our community, do give us a shout using our different social media handles. If you have any questions, do post it in our chat box, or you can also please post on our community WhatsApp group. We can take it from there as well. So yeah, let's go ahead with our introducing our panelists. We have Shravan from Abda Digital. We have Praveen from Fee Factory. We have Ravi from Monatra. Before I can give our panelists to introduce themselves, I will congratulate Praveen for the recent milestone on winning the Innovation Award, Economic Times Innovation Award. Congratulations, Praveen. It's a proud moment for T-Hub and our community as well. Yeah, so please, Shravan, over to you. A quick intro about Abda Digital.
Okay, thank you, Aarti, and congratulations, Praveen, in person. Ravi there. Hey. So we have about 22 attendees. Okay. So how do I start? Like, I'm a second-time entrepreneur. I already started a company way back in 2010. That was like Byju's in education sector. And prior to that, I've always been a startup guy. I was working with different startups and always passionate at bringing out innovative products and that are actually practical to use. So in 2015, we started Abda Digital, and it's a quite a journey of quite a struggle. And we have had help a little bit compared to the first startup and the second startup. The ecosystem has changed a lot, and we found help from various institutions, including T-Hub, where we had where we were able to get customers. In fact, I found my first customer, Vodafone, in T-Hub. And we have two products. One is into digital content creation. It's known as Hola Enterprise. It can be used in marketing for creating very lightweight, interactive videos. And the second platform that we have is Connect With Me, which is a digital business card, very relevant in the current times when everything is going virtual. And all the events and meetings are going virtual, then the business cards also have to follow suit. But we actually started this initiative way back last year, and thanks to COVID, for a change, things have moved positively towards digital side. I am an active investor as well. I do invest in a few companies, and yeah, so far things have been good. But the pandemic has taught us new lessons on how we can manage internally our teams, how we can manage customers, how do you manage the whole stress in the system. There are a few definitely we had to learn very quickly, and we have been lucky so far in trying to go raise funds during this pandemic. We also managed to recruit people. We did several things in a totally different way. So yeah, that's a quick intro about myself, and happy to take any questions as we go along.
Thank you, Shravan. Thanks for the quick intro. Yeah, we'll be diving deep into more insights going forward. Yeah, Praveen, over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Firstly, so sorry that I have to connect from my car. Please be rest assured, I'm in the driving seat, but I'm not driving. I parked my car on the side, so we are all on good shape now. So just to give a brief introduction about myself, my name is Praveen Gorakavri. I've been a kind of freelancer scientist since my childhood. I started inventing at an age of around 12, 13, developing various technologies for the Indian departments, government agencies, and also a lot of private companies as well. In the last 16 years, I'm 31 right now, and in the last 16, 17 years, I have commercialized around 28 technologies in collaboration with various companies across the country, across the globe, frankly. So my model of operation was very simple, where I kind of develop technologies and I outsource the technologies to major companies, because I always believe that these guys have got a greater foothold and they have a greater system or mechanism to take products into the market, and there would be a greater impact by selling off or like by collaborating with a major company rather than rolling out a company by myself. This was the mentality I have had in say last 16, 17 years or so. My works reach almost 1 million houses on day-to-day basis. So if you're using a product from Unilever or Reckitt Benckiser, a few of the products, of course, not everyone, or L'Oreal, I have signed up with several organizations like that, and my products are like serving almost 1 million houses on day-to-day basis. This is my personal track record. And then in 2018, I and my co-founder, Dr. Meghna, she's actually an MBBS graduate coming from the Gandhi Medical College. So she's a proper doctor. So we were having some discussions about how to move ahead, because we also together have commercialized 4 technologies together. I was contributing from my chemical engineering background, and she was contributing from her medical background, and together we kind of developed a new advanced medical devices, sold it to few companies. So she has come up with an idea saying that, Praveen, we have been doing technologies and outsourcing these technologies to major companies, mostly abroad. And on the other side, if you see, a lot of Indian SMEs are struggling to have access to good technologies, and they are not in a position to compete at the global markets. Because, as all of us know, that standalone adoption of technology is not economically feasible for smaller businesses. So we thought we wanted to change this scenario. And it's also very commonly observed point for all of us. We see that a lot of smaller companies, they take pride in adopting Korean technology or German technology, American technology, and we wanted to change this scenario as well. So I, Dr. Meghna, we founded a company called Fee Factory, where we kind of created an innovation platform. So not just us, people like us from various universities, CSR laboratories, would also contribute to the technology development. And together we started serving the Indian SMEs to start with. We had like 5, 6 brilliant ideas and brilliant products, frankly. Sorry for using these adjectives. I know I should not use it when the product is coming from me, but these are really good products. They could change the lot of businesses and prospects for a lot of companies in the country. But the first product which we launched, which is like called GFP, which is a paper additive to be used in making brown paper called craft paper, which is used in our carton boxes. We all use carton boxes, right? So craft paper is the main source of making these boxes. So we kind of made a good technology and started with that. And in the last 2 years, like, it was an instant market hit. Frankly speaking, the moment we launched it into the market, both the corporates and the paper mills and corrugators, they were like instantly attracted to this product, because these guys have not seen a major innovation in the last 30, 40 years. And when something like GFP has come up, these guys were like instantly jumping on to adopt it. There were several restraints for us, because we were not ready with that kind of working capital, and even the headcount was very less. So we were selectively supplying to few major corporates in the last 2 years. And as Aarti was mentioning, this is the technology for which we have won the Economic Times Innovation Award for 2020 for driving the sustainability. And in the last 2 years, we supplied 2,500 tons of paper. By doing so, we saved almost 7,500 trees from being consumed into a paper form. So we kind of saved a mini forest. So I jokingly say this to a lot of people: if someone is like very worried about the Californian fires or like Australian fires, probably just remember that there's an Indian startup which is also contributing on the greener side. I mean, we are saving trees while there are some mishaps elsewhere. So yeah, COVID is a major you know duration that obviously none of us can forget, especially since we are like closely associated with SMEs for the manufacturing, supply, etc. Now these guys were hit, and so is our operation, and we had to take some unusual steps and pivot our business model in order to, of course, survive and again come back in a big way. So I would be happy to discuss more in the subsequent discussion that we'll have in the panel today. And so back to you, Archie.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Praveen. Great introduction. Last but not the least, we have Ravi on the panel as well. Ravi, please, over to you.
Thank you, Aarti, and hi, Shravan. Hi, Praveen, and congratulations, Praveen, for winning the Economic Times Award. It's wonderful to hear from you and your introduction. And specifically, when you're sitting in the car and taking your, the panel discussion from there, it happened to me last time. It just so happened that, that reminded me that, we had some construction going on at the last moment in the last 5 minutes. So I had to jump into the car. But for me, my car didn't, the car didn't start, so I couldn't move it. So I had to find some other location. So it reminded me of that. So anyways, coming back to me, so my background has been into medical devices for the last 15 years. The first half was into R&D out in the US. The second half has been into commercial sales and marketing with Johnson & Johnson, specifically in their cardiovascular care franchise portfolio. And the geographies that I operated in for J&J were India, Australia, and a couple of other APAC regions. I started Monitra about 4.5 years back. The core problem that we were looking to solve is, there are two major problems in clinical cardiology. One is patients faint, and second is patients have these episodic palpitations. Now, these are very, very difficult to diagnose because these are very sporadic. No one can predict when these events can happen. And the only way you can capture is, if you capture data at the time the episodes present, if you capture data at the time when the patients are having episodes. So this is a problem that we are looking to solve through Monitra. So at Monitra, we have developed this end-to-end platform, which includes adhesive sensors, which are like Band-Aid-like stickers where you peel it off, put it onto the chest, and all the data from these sensors go to the phone to the cloud, and we do real-time analytics on the cloud. In the past 4 years, we have been able to convince some, big conglomerates to help us in our journey. So we are collaborating with the wearables R&D in Silicon Valley with DuPont, who's given us access to the material scientists out there. In India, we are working with some of the leading hospitals out here. And we already have a granted patent in India, and we filed for patents in other parts of the world. And in the last 9 months since we did our beta release, we have seen significant amount of traction. We've done close to around 45,000 hours of monitoring, which is more than about 5 years of monitoring is what we have done. And then we have captured more than 200 million heartbeats on our platform. And we have picked up all kind of, rhythm disorders, which we intended to do through a platform. But, the biggest satisfaction for us is, is healthcare outcomes, because monitoring for the sake of monitoring is not useful unless you, affect a change. So from what we have heard from doctors is patients have been put onto, antiarrhythmic drugs, beta blockers. Then, in some cases, urgent intervention had to be done in the form of pacemakers and all, which help save lives as well. So which is far more satisfying for us. COVID has been very interesting, which I'm happy to talk about. So we made some changes, in the way we are working and in the kind of products that we can innovate during the last 9 months, and what kind of things that we had to do on one side to conserve cash, on the other side to keep the team motivated. So I'm happy to discuss that. Thank you, Aarti. Back to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Ravi. Great introduction. So, as I said, this panel is an interesting panel. We have a very diverse panel here for a reason. We have a startup who has completely pivoted for a different product. We have a startup who is in the pursuits of investment. We have a startup who has tailored the product with the COVID scenario. So we're going to learn about not only their journey, but also some critical aspects where other entrepreneurs who have joined the call can pick up some strategies and fine tune with respect to their startup. So yeah, it would be great. So the first open question for all the panelists is, it would be great if you can touch upon the journey of how you thought about this pivot, how you reacted to this entire scenario, and what exactly motivated you to, actually take this pivot step. Is it like only, sales per se? Is the sales are down only if you think in terms of pivot, or is it like there are other attributes that add to this entire step of this change which you're trying to get into your startup itself? What actually made you to even think in these lines with respect to the circumstances what you faced? Who's
So
going
shall I go
first?
first?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So basically, I have to tell you this, that February was a brilliant month for us, February 2020, because I mean, in 2019, our first product, as I was saying, GFP, wasn't a perfectly solid formulation. Like, it was a powder which we used to dose in paper mills and get the paper. So that was an altogether different business. And we have observed that there are some labor issues happening at the paper mill. So we thought we should take that responsibility for being the promoters of this technology. And we converted into liquid form. There was like almost 3 to 4 months of absolute stoppage to our business and rollout, because we were trying to do a new version of our own technology. And frankly speaking, many people were like criticizing my decision to move from solid to liquid, because, solids was doing good business. And, about these guys who are already into these traditional businesses, they always say that if something is already happening, then let it go and launch the second thing as a second product. But no, we were like, we have to stop that, and then we have to do it. Obviously, we have some stocks, we were supplying those stocks, and we wanted to come to liquid. And in February, we have cracked one of the major challenges that stopped us from adopting or pressing the liquids. We were like literally jumping. And then we also signed up a term sheet with a VC firm. And, it was like, obviously, as any one of you can understand, it's like we were on top of a cloud, like Cloud9, they say, right? So that's how we were. And all of a sudden, then we started systems slowing down in the month of March. And the first reaction for, the first feeling that we had was obviously panic. We don't know what to do. The people who were supposed to manufacture GFP for us, we rely on third-party manufacturers. These are the guys who also do for companies like Himalaya, etc. So they are like putting their machines for the sanitizer manufacturing and other essential good manufacturing. And we were like obviously second, third priorities. Though packaging was considered as an essential product by the government of India, we were not really given that kind of credible priority in the first place. So we were obviously a little panic. And the first objective for both of us, for being a bootstrap company, is that we wanted to reduce the burn rate to zero, as low as possible to zero. So we made our initial steps to get to that level. We talked to all our employees, all our vendors, and we have made sure that everyone is on page with us. And then we just started observing how the market is responding and how it is going to come back, and what else we can do alongside them, so that we can revive both our relation with our vendors and also ourselves. So that's how we started. And we were not really scared about losing our clients, because frankly speaking, we are the only technology in the whole world in terms of the packaging industries are concerned, that is offering a green technology at a cost effective pricing. I mean, if someone is going for an environmental sustainability product, then they have to invest more or they have to spend more. But we are the kind of guys who can satisfy the packaging as well as the procurement department of any major company. So we never feared the possibilities of losing a client, but we know that we have to improvise the way we are associated, and that's how the system has started. And right now, we also have come into FMCG companies. Few of my friends were interested in doing the sanitizers, etc. So we thought maybe that's also an opportunity for us. Why don't we, use the break span that we have for GFP to develop the other products? So I think you can also see in today's Telangana Today, there is an article about our product, which is a first non-alcoholic sanitizer produced from us. And mostly it is to address the requirements in the Middle East area, especially because of the religious purposes. A lot of people don't try to go for the alcohol-based sanitizers. And we have produced a non-alcoholic sanitizer, which is like a 5-log reduction, 99.999 reduction. It can also be applied for hospital applications, etc. And the best part is we were giving it as a concentrate. So we just give a small sachet of 10 ml. mix it in 1 liter, and the entire 1 liter will behave like a sanitizer, giving the 5-log reduction. So the cost of packaging, the cost of transporting water unnecessarily is all reduced. So it is like almost coming at 1/10 cost of a normal sanitizer. And we started collaborating with NGOs. We started collaborating with some institutional applications like mosques, temples, where not. So that's how we have regenerated funds for ourselves. And right now, in the last 1 or 2 months, we also started seeing that GFP is gaining its attraction, and most of the people are like coming back to life like mummies. So we started collaborating with our vendors and partners. So now we have multiple products, not just the GFP, but also some FMCG products, mostly into sanitation.
Great, great. From a proper core product to you shifted to a market need, then you reacted to it and build an entire different customer base through finding
Actually,
channels.
Aarti, I have to tell you this. We were really reluctant on doing this. Okay, we have the idea, but we were really reluctant of doing this because sanitizer, to my perspective, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think that it's a very small innovation. Actually, there is not much of innovation to talk about in that. But when we realized that companies like Asian Paints are coming up with sanitizers, and companies like Unilever or Marico are coming up with products, and why not us? And we have a USP. We are offering a non-alcoholic sanitizer. We are offering a concentrate version. It is very inexpensive, so we saw the need.
I've heard that it was pet friendly.
Yes, actually, this is the first sanitizer which is pet friendly. Yes, absolutely. Because the alcohol-based application on pets generally remove the fur from the animals, or sometimes they also have a habit of licking their hands. So it would also kind of create some kind of GIT problems for them. So we are non-alcoholic. We don't have those issues. And the product that we are using, the main APIs are widely used in several baby diapers and cosmetics. So we are like very green, and we are FDA approved as well. So
Great. Anything is fair in love and war, just like anything is fair for a startup to survive. That's
absolutely.
Shravan or Ravi, who gonna go next? Ravi, you wanna take it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'll take it. So it was fun. Can you hear me, Aarti?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. So it was equally fun for us. January was a terrific month. We had the best sales, across the board. But coming to March, as soon as the lockdown started, it went from, the peak to, zero. So, and the next couple of weeks to a month, there were no sales at all. So it was panic. It was a matter of, survival. And we didn't know how long will this situation last, will last. And we also didn't know how situation will turn out to be post, the lifting of the lockdown. How will situation emerge, say, in a year from now, what will be required and what are the things that we need to do? So we are into monitoring. So the question for us is, what else can we offer in this COVID scenario that would be helpful to doctors and hospitals, at large? So what we decided to do at that point in time is create a new product. So we were anyways picking up, say, heart rate, ECG, which is very critical, for monitoring the vitals. But we also, sort of worked on another product in which we were in a position to pick up, say, oxygen saturation, which is a very critical sort of a, vital for COVID patients, because it's an indicator of, whether the patient needs to go to the hospital or stay at home. And so the challenge at that point in time was, while we can do innovation, but the supply chains across the globe were sort of constrained. There's nothing that was coming in from outside the country. There's nothing that is available. So we had to make do with whatever that was available and figure out a way that would make sense for, say, the governments as well as the hospitals to work with. So that's where we sort of used an interesting idea, where we use this image recognition sort of a mechanism, where you are able to pick up the information from a regular pulse oximeter and transmit it digitally to an online cloud-based platform. And we created a dashboard for both the public health authorities as well as hospitals, where they can monitor their, say, patients who are at risk for COVID and COVID patients as well. So we went into, so thanks to T-Hub, we got connected to Hyderabad District Collector, with whom we did a pilot. And then, that came out pretty well. Then we got connected to, several other hospitals. So the hospital started using this product. So it is an interesting sort of a phase to pivot from there to into this completely new product. Now it just so happened with for us the COVID situation per se across the country is improving drastically. There are places where third wave is coming through, but at this time the hospitals are sort of gearing up for non-COVID cases. So the current product that we innovated during the COVID situation, has sort of waning down. But what's happened is that after the COVID situation improved, because of the steps that we took during this particular time, we acquired a few more customers than before, and now our business over the last 3 months has been growing close to more than 40% month on month. So it's been an interesting sort of a transition. But the critical steps that we took were twofold. One for us was, since it was a matter of survival and we didn't know how long this situation will last, was to conserve our burn. But while we conserve our burn, we didn't want this to affect our manpower. We didn't want to sort of let our people go. So we spoke to each one of them, and we took I would say a reasonable pay cut across the board, and also kept all our employees during the downturn. And situation for us is improved coming out of it. But that's been our sort of journey. So it was very important to talk to the people and let them know what the situation is, and I think that sort of helped us out.
Great. Amazing journey, Ravi. So one other takeaway for the founders attending this. So we have an existing product, then what other verticals that we can build or can enter into with respect to the market scenarios? Of course, it was very tough for Ravi. We were closely, actually working with them to how we can take this forward. It was a very tough journey, of course, for the founders, the employees, and how to entirely shift this process. Yeah, so next we have Shravan. I think in this case, Connect Me is sort of a product. It's the right time. I feel the circumstances were a right time for you to actually push into the market sort. But again, since it was B2B, you had your own challenges. So, and also investment pursuits were completely different. So what is your take on that, Shravan? Shravan, you're on mute.
So we had everything lined up because we are into B2B SaaS. So typically the sales cycle starts around October, November, because the budgeting happens around that time. So we had planned everything, we had everything geared up, and few of our customers wanted to implement it from April 1st. And then we got hit. In fact, we also were looking to raise investments, and just around that time, around February, March, and we wanted to close our investments before the financial year end. And then the pandemic hit. Hell broke loose for us because most of the customers were postponing their decisions because they themselves were not sure. They didn't know how long this was going to last. And investors, they got scared because they didn't know how sales will happen, rightly so. Most of them backed out. Somebody actually cut down their interest by around 25%. They said like, we're going to invest only 25% of what initially we committed to. So that was quite upsetting for us, but it also gave us a chance to kind of focus, right? There are two, I would try to take this opportunity, take it as an opportunity rather than anything else. It gives us two things. One, it cuts out all the external noise that will be there. I'm sure like all of us are founders, and as a CEO, you have to run a lot of things. This pandemic gave us an opportunity to refocus ourselves on streamline our internal process first. And while we are streamlining our product and internal process, because that was the time when sales were not happening. So the sales pressure is not there so much. That gives us a chance to relocate our product and see how we can scale up. So we moved our product by 600% in terms of performance. Right? Earlier, suppose we are doing about like, say, 1,000 digital cards were being created in about an hour. We moved to around like in 1 hour, we are able to like mass produce around like 5,000, 6,000 cards. So performance optimization internally is something that we focused on. But we kept in touch with our all the customers. We kept asking them, we kept pushing and asking them for implementation, saying that COVID is there, business has to happen. So at least like, why don't we run pilots? So we had to push the pilots. So we started pushing quite a bit of pilots there. And some of the pilots, they came through, and we managed to sign up Tatas. And we have been talking to Tatas for quite some time. And because of COVID, things got moved a little bit. They got deferred by around, say, 3 to 4 months. But the sales cycles just grew longer. So internally, we also had to cut costs. In fact, the core team, we in fact gave a moderate appraisal way back in July itself. That's because we didn't know how things will pan out. And in terms of investment as well, the investors, we introduced them to customers or potential customers. And when we introduced them to potential customers and they started talking, their confidence in the solution and the company grew, and they came back. In fact, they came back all the way and wanted to invest whatever they wanted. So in that way, the investment also happened to click at the right time. Customers also started coming back. Since this is a digital solution, we started generating a much more interest. We see a lot of interest coming through for this digital solution. And we started expanding into other countries as well. Now that COVID is like the buzzword now, and most of the meetings are going online, we started moving into other countries, so through partnerships. So things have been a roller coaster ride for the last 9 to 10 months. It's been pretty hectic, but it also gives us a different perspective on how we can deal with these kind of solutions. And as I say, like, no, never let go of an opportunity. Any kind of crisis is an opportunity, so don't let go of it. So see what we can, we thought about what we can do internally, and we streamlined those processes, and those things are helping us now.
Yeah, thank you, Shravan. So I can understand how corporates' mindset completely, for them, innovation or looking at innovation was a question mark. It became like need versus want scenario for them, and every financial decision that they're taking, they're very conscious about it. Can empathize with the fact of how you closed POC with Tata and how many sales cycle got increased. Yeah, especially for at least you have someone backed up with your team sorts. You have another co-founder sorts with respect to your operations. But what do you think in terms of single founders handling, especially in different verticals? How do you think their assumptions when they try to pivot or try to make a shift in their product per se? As an individual or as a startup, we'll make a lot of assumptions with respect to the market scenarios. How do you actually validate that? And being a single founder, how do you actually take a step on what basis? It would be great if all three can comment or cross comment based on the discussions what you have.
So I had earlier founders who partnered. So let me take that first, since I'm anyway unmuted. So I had a co-founder, and so at some point of time, you need to see what is situations like COVID will push you to the brink. And earlier as well, like as a startup, it's like a washing machine. It will churn and throw us around. In the end, we come out much cleaner and stronger. So here, what happened was I was forced to become a co-founder because as a single founder, because in terms of cutting across, we had to cut everybody's paychecks, including, and then let go of my co-founder as well. So and we had to again internally also we had to clean up a few non-performing people. So some of these things do happen because we are really pushed to the wall. You need to make your choices. So in terms of pivot, what made us pivot? In fact, we are not exactly pivoted. We saw an opportunity again, like the others. We have existing product which is very stable, and we have Vodafone as one of our customers, and ICICI Bank on whole enterprise, including HDFC as well. So we have been serving a lot of BFSI customers, and when we launched this product, the second product, we leveraged our existing relationships, and we started selling back into the same enterprise, and bringing them the second product. But what did we think when we actually had to kind of move our engineering, entire engineering to the second product? Because the first product is in a steady state, it is being maintained. There's a lot to invest, but we didn't want to invest there. We have to we have only so much time and money. So you have to see what you can do. So there were 3 or 4 key metrics by which I had to see whether this new idea is going to fly or not. So one, we did a prototype. We asked our customers, would they buy such a thing? So we saw some interest there. So that is number 1, customers. Second thing is we bounced around this idea with investors, potential investors. They also gave positive feedback. They said, like, no, the second one seems to be more interesting. So, and then the third thing that we saw was we were seeing a little bit of competition all around in this particular space. So then we decided that, like, no, we had been having this idea as an entrepreneur, you have a lot of things that you can chase, but you need to pick and choose what you want to chase, right? So this time we also thought that maybe this is the right time for for us, like, since competition is picking up, investor interest is there, customers are showing interest, at least for POCs and early prototype adoption. So we thought, like, this might be a good idea, and we actually pushed for it. In fact, we made a POC and then we started putting customers on that. So it kind of clicked, and I still have a long way to go. But yes, as a single founder, you actually rely on a data-driven decision rather than, in fact, it doesn't matter whether it's single founder or co-founder or you have multiple founders. It's no vote. Market is the one and the customer is God, right? So you have to see who are the guys who are going to call the shots, and you follow that. At the same time, you cannot follow two. I mean, you do have a gut feel as to choose which product you want to go after, but you have to validate it. That is very important.
Yeah.
So one other point is that we also have to have a hard look at your existing product. We saw that the existing product has a few requirements, especially in Indian scenario. It cannot go out of India right away in the shape that it is, because in India, a lot of people expect a service or even on top of a SaaS platform. So we wanted to go towards more automation, and marketing was more like a service kind of, I mean, a little bit of service component is there. We wanted to reduce that component, both in terms of the billing that we get for the service on top of the SaaS platform. So we wanted to move into pure SaaS and see if we can eliminate the service component of it. So that also helped us in pivoting to this particular product.
Fair, like, yeah, for all the founders out there, customer, run it through your other stakeholder, which is like an investor, and also check on your competition. Yeah, Ravi and Praveen, any thoughts here? Want to add to the point?
Well, for me, I think I really admire Shravan to be able to run as a single founder, but for me, I cannot even dream of being a single founder in this company, because, you know, sometimes I and Dr. Meghna, my co-founder, we both are coming from two different, let's say, hemispheres of ideology. and sometimes I might be a little overwhelmed and I feel like jumping onto a project, and then she says, no, there are some commercial aspects that will probably drag us back. So, I mean, we are coming from a chemical engineering background and chemistry background, and also medical background. So our products are like, you know, the approach that we need to do is far from the software or the IoT based or whatever. So for me, I think it's very important for me to have a co-founder, and I don't think if all this would have been possible as a single founder by myself. So before we launch, at any point of time, we'll have a thorough discussion, and then yes, like just like the way Shravan was explaining, we also have some friends who happen to be our vendors and also our clients. So we just will try to do some friendly talks with either of both the guys, like people who supply to us and people whom we have to supply. Just try to understand the base idea of how this is going to fare up. So it's kind of, let's say, sharing the idea and knowing the pulse of the market. And that's how we try to fine tune our product or our performance or our service according to that. And yeah, it would not have happened without two founders, at least in my case.
Yeah, amazing. So, morning I came across a quote: the greatest salespeople in the world are actually great listeners. They always listen to the market and then fine tune. One other takeaway to our founders out there. So, Ravi, any comments on that, or shall I move to the next question?
No, a couple of comments to add, Aarti. Like you said, I think the best communication skill is actually listening. So I think great salesmen are great listeners. So now coming to your point, I think the question was, if I am, I just want to check myself, is how do you validate, right? Whether what you're doing, makes sense and will it work or not? is essentially what was your question for a pivot. So the way I see it is, so on one side, when we're talking about startups, we're talking about essentially a business. So, and core to the business is a product. But, on one side, you will build a prototype to check whether it's working or not. It doesn't need to have all the bells and whistles. Don't spend too much time, energy on, refining the prototype, get it up and start selling the prototype. I think it's very, very critical to sell. You will get a tons of customers who are willing to give you lip service, will give you good feedback, but unless they're paying for it, you will never get good, feedback at all. So always find customers who are, your paying customers, they are the ones who will give you tons of feedback initially. But I think the more important thing is to figure out a business model that will scale while you are validating your product. Because I think a lot of us as product founders tend to focus more on the product, but less on the business side. So what essentially we should strive to figure out is what is the core business model, and can you find a business model that can scale very well? So we don't need to attack too many geographies. Figure out one small geography, iterate your product, start selling, figure out your pricing, figure out your channels, through this product. And then once you have found a model that's working well, and then remove barriers to scale. I think that's going to be very, very critical. So while you validate, don't just validate, your product, but validate your business model. I think that's equally, important, for us as founders. That's something that I wanted to add.
Great. Couldn't emphasize, that's a very good point that you picked up, Ravi. Couldn't emphasize more on that. For a reason, talking to, 180 plus startups on a different level, one common thing I see is whenever they are, shifting into different markets or refining their product vertical sorts, they get into more, making that product so perfect, but they don't see the business side of it. Let's get hear from our customers, are they willing to pay? They miss the business side of it in hustle of refining their product, which is very critical. End of the day, we are in business for revenue, to survive and to make an impact. So that's another takeaway from Ravi from Monitra here, guys. And also another fun fact, recently Monitra has won HISIA award as well. Congratulations on that, friend, Monitra and team.
Thank you.
Yeah, so coming up, another interesting thought is, which I would love to hear from all the panelists here. So till then, we were hearing on the business side, the product side, the startup side of the story. You as an individual, how has been your emotional pivot towards your product or the startup that you've been, so connected to? It's like a baby of yours. Now completely moving that or, shifting in a different directions, it somewhere has a different emotional effect on you as individuals. So how that journey has been for yours, such that our founders also can connect key. We are all in the same journey. Often people don't speak about it. So it would be great if you can just throw some light there.
So let me start for this. Emotionally on a personal front, as I told you, like when the pandemic has happened and I have my vendors, I have my clients waiting for the material and the logistics were shut. The first emotion is obviously panic. I really didn't know what was happening and what is going to happen. It was just like watching 2012 movie in real. And I'm a part of that movie. I really didn't know what to do. And the other concern which I really had is, I'm a first generation entrepreneur. So I don't really want to make any mistake in whatever I do, especially when there's money involved. There are so many people involved, and a lot of companies have enlisted our product as their priority project for their year. So the employees in those particular year, in those particular companies would get bonuses if they implement our technology in full front. So that's how the system works. So now I know that there's so many things at stake, and we should not make any mistake. We should not run out of money. We should not run out of interest. So there was panic. There was tension everywhere. And I was like, literally for a couple of months, I literally felt like snoozing myself off, just like a polar bear does. Just go off and just think what to do and all. And this is, I think, most of us must have felt the same thing. And the first 2 months, like I think till it was May, we knew nothing what to do. And it was just like sitting silently watching news and hoping for the best. So obviously the first few months, few weeks, we were just hoping that it will be just done in 20 days or 30 days. And that's all it is about. But the way it escalated and the way it restricted all the businesses, it was like overwhelming. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, but somewhere I felt like, I took the courage, or let's say I took some inspiration from Tollywood, Bollywood movies, and just felt like, this is a movie happening, so we need to create a upliftment to the company and the finances again, and just revive things. So it's definitely that way. So yeah, you have to imagine yourself as something to work under such kind of stresses, and that's how probably I was able to do something. I know it looks a little bit silly, but yeah. So we had to.
Yeah, basically bringing the Avenger in you out. Yeah. Anybody would like to add here?
So I would like to take a shot at it, Aarti. So it is definitely emotionally draining. I think no matter how much we emphasize, I think when you're going through the whole journey yourself, is when you realize, how crazy and how emotionally, draining can it be. The only solace that you get through events like what happened during COVID-19 is that we are not alone. Everyone is going through it. Okay, so that's the only good, I would say, good part about it. But then it's quite challenging. I think it's important to have self-belief in your work, your business, your idea, your people, because ultimately that's what matters. It's very, very important to have someone whom you can talk to during these times. Luckily for us, like I said, when everyone is going through this, there's panic all around. You don't feel that much, or you don't get that much from your investors, hit that much by investors, because they also understand the scenario. It would be a completely different scenario if you raise money and then the entire world is doing great, but as a company you're not doing great. That's a completely different scenario, where it would have been even more difficult. But I think in a situation like this, because everybody was going through the situation, it was a little bit easy, I would say, compared to the another scenario. But having said that, it's important that you pivot. You figure out ways in which you can stand out. You can walk through the scenario. But the most important thing is your people. I think we tend to forget is that when you are a company, it's a set of people, and you need to take care of your people during these difficult times. So I think while you have to take difficult decisions, but then you have to do it with a certain degree of compassion. I think those are things that were great learning during the this last few months for us.
Yeah, couldn't emphasize on the fact of talking it out. Like many entrepreneurs just be in their own bubble and not actually be vocal about whatever you're facing. In fact, I've seen entrepreneurs, by just talking to they figured out some other people, that just a common like-minded people, they figured out some way. At least the least is the emotional support. So any founders from our community or outside the community, you feel like you want to talk to someone and just share, our team is always available in the T-Hub building. We sit in third floor, just walk in. Let's have a great conversations on that front. Yeah, we'll move to audience questions before, Shravan, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a part of 2 startups. If I have to start, if I have to call it as my own, and I have been working with a couple of other startups, and I've been through a roller coaster ride. Emotion, it's see, fundamentally, what is it that you have to ask yourself as to why you're doing this, right? That's, if money is the reason, then probably no, you should not be doing it for money. There has to be, somewhere I read that there are you need to find at least 3 non-commercial reasons for starting a company. So you need to find what are those 3 reasons. As long as you continue to add value, right? See, you will have pandemics, you will have economic recession. India was anyway, and probably to a certain extent globally, we were seeing a recession. We were heading into a recession, and pandemic just accelerated that. But whatever it is, you need to find a strong reason as to why you're doing this. Right? Yeah. And obviously, there are other people who are involved in this as a company, and you need to definitely take care of them, as Ravi said. You need to keep you need to have the team very close. Your initial set of 10 to 15 people are the ones who are going to run your entire company later. You need to find those 15 people on whom you can actually build the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to stick together, and such kind of situations will actually filter out those guys. So you'll be able to find those guys. It's a much easier way, and yeah, circumstances are forced on us. It's been personally, it's been a very, very tough journey for me. It drains out a lot of things, but you also need to relish the challenge. Unless you relish the challenge, statistically 3% or 4% of the startups succeed, right? Maybe give a few more percentage points for those who can actually make a moderate business. So overall, 90% of the startups fail, right? So you have to be a person who relishes a challenge and is okay with failures to be able to take that, because statistics are against us. So knowing that fact, fully knowing the fact, you need to get into that. And when you take a risk, make sure that you have planned well. If you plan for that risk, then I think you should be able to manage it. But if something like this happens, then all of us are in the same boat. So it shouldn't matter. But yeah, some of us will try to make this as an opportunity and move forward. Figure out those things. Always listen to customers, build stronger relationships with customers and other stakeholders. It's been really, really personally, it's been like a very challenging 6 months for us.
Yeah. What are so another takeaway for our audience? What are those non-3 commercial attributes that you?
Aarti, just to interrupt you for a while, and attendees, you can of course raise your hand to talk to any of the panel members directly, or you can put your questions here on the chat box so that we can take all your questions.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mrs. Singh, I'll just put you on. You can ask your question directly to any of the panel members. Yes, Diwakar, you can talk to the panel members. Who do you want to talk?
Hi, Praveen, Shravan, and Ravi. Great inputs. Praveen, firstly, congratulations. I was watching the Economic ET Awards. There are two things which I captured. One is that a Hyderabad-based startup for sustainable innovation taking an award among all the big wigs. And second thing is that on the same forum, COO of Apple has taken back his words that Indians have creativity and still can do, contradicting his earlier comments. Okay, congratulations to all three of you. Shravan, I think we had earlier couple of interactions. So I'll come back to my question. So pandemic has impacted, and I'm a sales individual. I know what kind of a tough times we have seen, and being on the forum in the month of November, talking this is not easy. So appreciate all three of you. And what kind of these challenges you are foreseeing with all this economic turmoil and the model of entrepreneurship in 2021? What will be the focus areas in new normal? I just want to know.
So, let me take a shot at it. It depends on the business that you're in, right? Some businesses will be positively impacted. Some businesses will be negatively impacted. Travel, tourism, hospitality, they will take quite some time to recover. So I think you just can Google and you can see there are a lot of things which are floating around on what are the industries that will be impacted. For SaaS-based businesses, I think this would be a shot in the arm. People will start moving towards digitalization, and that will hasten it. And but the sales cycles will be longer. So we have to wait. Software is not a primary industry. It has to depend on other industries. So we being SaaS, we have to depend on other industries as well, right? Say for example, we are heavily dependent on BFSI. And it will take some time for BFSI to recover before software can also recover. So yeah, it will take some time, but that's where we are seeing that the sales cycles will be impacted. It will take some time for all of us to get adjusted to the new normal, how we work, how we go ahead with our businesses. All these things will take some time.
And Singhji, thank you so much for your wishes. From my side, I just wanted to add this. that for us, I mean, we are coming from the innovation background, and our startup is almost it's almost 100% about innovation, and we try to collaborate with companies to create good products which are universally marketable. So yes, I understand when Steve Wozniak was talking on that Economic Times event, and he was mentioning about the creativity levels or innovation levels in India. I think what we are doing itself speaks a lot. And in fact, majority of the countries which are producing good innovations have Indians as the key players. In the same way, for us, actually, I don't know if I'm that good of an entrepreneur to guide someone else. But in my personal opinion, what we are going to do at V Factory is to create more innovations and to create a bigger number of portfolio, as well as to partner more with good companies. In fact, that is exactly what we are doing in this month and next month as well, where we are trying to outsource some of the responsibilities of e-factory to third parties, so that it would also create some revenue cycles to these guys, and also enhance our possibility of creating a good impact in very remote areas as well within the country, and also in the Southeast Asia. So as I'm saying, like our focus will be on creating more number of products, because right now we really have no idea, especially in terms of innovation, what fields would really be continuing and what fields would stop. So we are trying to do as much as we can, in fact trying to enhance our portfolio and just make sure that our probability is good at the end of the day as a company.
Yeah.
Thank you, Divakarji. Over to you, Aarti.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, actually, thanks for the question, Divakar. I request audience, whomsoever have questions, please use the raise hand tab in the chat box, or also you can type it there. We'll love to take up the questions. Yeah, or else participants who are part of our community group, you can put it on our WhatsApp group. Would love to take from there as well. Yeah, one thing Shravan pointing out last time when he made a comment, right? So what are 3 non-commercial attributes that you look for or aim at other than revenue when you start a startup? Please give a thought to it, which is very crucial as I see or talk to different startups out there. So yeah, audience would love to take your questions. Please put it in our chat box or use the raise hand tab.
So Aarti, till we have the next question, a couple of points from the previous, I think Divakar's question, is that we will see a lot of consolidation in the industry. You will see, smaller players merging into bigger players. There'll be opportunities for buying, other companies. As startups, our valuations will get affected. It depends on how much, burn and run rate we have. So I think the most important sort of message for all of us as entrepreneurs is going to be to conserve cash, be extremely leaner in our sort of operations.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. Any more questions? Any questions out there? We have Anirudh, we have Bala, Kailash, Hitachandra. Would love to hear from you. Yeah, well then, yeah, we come to end of our webinar. So before winding up, any thoughts on, or any inputs that you want to give to budding entrepreneurs on given this current scenarios and how the sectors look at, or the market challenges per se? If you want to give that one word advice, what would that be?
So let me jump in if I'm not on mute. Yeah, I'm not on mute. So I can just give a specific, advice to a specific set of people who are first generation entrepreneurs and who are not coming from a business business educational background, let's say. So people like me who are like, who don't know what to do, but just wanted to do business and make a best of their time. For all such kind of people like me, I would just say that surround yourself with good number of friends who have startups and surround your company amongst other startups. So I believe THub is a very good place to come in. That's the reason why we have come to THub. And, at all point of time, we'll have people and other startups around you, and you will always be inspired looking at them and just feel like we have to also contribute or perform that way. So that's my suggestion.
Thanks, Praveen.
So let me share my couple of 2 cents here. See, startup is a difficult journey. So you can mitigate that particular thing by sharing and getting others' experience, right, to work for you. So interact, find a community where you can actually have these kind of free flow exchanges. T-Hub is doing a wonderful job facilitating all such kind of events where like in a forum where people can exchange. T-Hub also got me my first customer. In fact, way back last December, I was working with a company, a collaboration between Let's Venture and T-Hub called T-Angels. I was a part of that. And that gave me a much needed clarity. In fact, T-Angels, they, as a part of T-Angels, they ran through the entire business model of the company and came back and they gave a critical input on what to do. So that also actually helped us to take a decision on how much to invest in new product. In fact, that was one of the key inputs that triggered us to focus more on the new product, and that turned out to be accurate. So make use of all the facilities which are there, the experience that is there nowadays. Like people are more willing and open. In fact, again, through part of as a part of T-Hub, I attended a workshop done by by BV Jagdish, and that is for entrepreneurs. Highly recommend that. There are several online workshops that are being conducted by other organizations as well. So use this as an ability to equip and train yourself, and yes, conserve cash, and all the best.
Thanks. I think we have a question from Kiran. I'm just giving you option to talk. Yeah, here you go. Kiran, you are on mute.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, a bit fumble, but it would be great if you can just speak a bit loud.
Any better now?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, my question to any of the panelists was that what mental or emotional preparation was necessary to ride the tide during the pandemic? I know you had to deal with your personal issues, professional issues, business issues, the uncertainties of the market and everything. What mental preparation was necessary for you to be able to ride the tide? And also, what cues should be indicating? What can we look for in the future? Hopefully, which will not have to be. But what cues could we be looking in the future if I have to actually prepare myself for a pandemic situation or something like this, entirely unexpected, where I'm forced to pivot?
So let me.
Well, I think.
Go ahead, Praveen.
Shravan, you can go ahead, please.
So
okay.
You need to prepare.
Shravan, you go.
So you need to, okay, let me go ahead. So you need to prepare for a worst case scenario. You just need to say like, what is the worst case scenario, and then build on that. So what if like no, like as Praveen said earlier, what if 2012 happens, right? So you need to start off with what is the worst thing. At least you at some point of time you need to make sure that okay, obviously we are human beings as well. Other than startup founders, we do have social obligations, we do have families, we will have kids, their expenses. So at some point of time, those things will come in and they will play with your economics. They will actually come and play with your sales cycles. If like no, if you compromise too much. So at some point of time, before you take the plunge, not just mental preparation, you also need to plan for it. Once you have planned financially, because time wise, time will not time probably will not be in your hands. You have to do whatever it takes, so that you should be prepared anyways. So financially, if you plan for that and then you can look at the worst case scenario and you're prepared for it, that will give you a lot of peace and peace for others who are working with you. And once you have done that, then you can fully focus on such situation. And as I said, like if you have prepared for the worst case scenario, that's the worst case scenario. Okay, if I'm getting zero revenues for X number of months, nothing is going to happen, right? So if you prepare for that kind of a scenario, then that's what is called the runway. So there are ways in which you, and primarily it's emotional as well as financial, but finance is what actually plays a lot in the case, because this is a non-profit entity, right? You always are here to make to make business. So personally, I feel like, no, whenever I win a customer, I feel elated, and I lose a customer, it goes down. So it kind of fluctuates with that. Yes, but over a period of time, you become immune to that a little bit more. At one point of time, the negotiation was so bad with Tata's that we had to walk away from the deal. I literally walked away from the deal. So at some point of time, you cannot give so much. Yeah, all these things, the tension and all these things will play. You probably will not be able to sleep well. So it's up to individuals to try see how we can do it. But as long as you know that at some point of time, even in the worst case scenario, your family won't be affected, that gives you a lot more freedom to play around with other things.
Praveen, you would like to add, or?
Yeah, actually, for me, I obviously, pandemic itself means an unknown territory. So I was only sticking up to grit. Actually, I feel like we need to be really focused on what we want, and the micro corrections are obviously driven by the market responses for what we are doing or market expectations for what we are about to do. So I think the micro corrections happened for me that way, but I was always focused, or we were always focused on what we have to do, and that's how we went ahead. So grit is my answer for that.
Grit and persistence. Yeah, Ravi, any thoughts here before we wind up?
Yeah. So Aarti, I echo what Shravan said. I think it's important that you plan and keep some money aside or financially plan in case what's your worst case scenario. How much time do you have for on the family finances side? Because on one side, if you feel you secure yourself out there, then your worst case worst nightmare sort of is taken care of. Having said that, no amount of preparation can sort of help you in a situation like the one that hit us during the time of COVID. But I think what helps to a larger extent is you need to have your fundamentals very strong. So for whatever business that we are into, I think it's important to know what works in that area. What are the unit economics? How are we going to go about doing that? What's some business model? See, today you go through one channel, the channel may not work, but can you find another channel? Those are things, the fundamentals of business we should know very well. If we know those well, I think we are in a better position to tide over any sort of external factors that will come and affect the market. But those are things that I would advise entrepreneurs to look into very carefully.
Amazing, amazing. Kiran, I hope this answers your question. So yeah, that's it. That's it for our day. Thank you. I thank all the panelists who have taken their precious time to have this wonderful convo, to share that journey of what they went through over the course. And to all the audience, would love to hear your feedback. We'll be sending the feedback form as well right after this call webinar. Also, you can shoot us your feedback on different social media handles. Do let us know. We as an organization also, we are always listening to the feedback. It's such that we can improve better. Looking forward for more such interactions and founder-specific webinars. Yeah, once again, this is Aarti on behalf of all THub team. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Shravan. Thank you, Praveen. Thank you, Ravi. Thanks for a wonderful time. Hope you had a great time too. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Aarti, for having us.
Signing off.
Hey,
Bye.
Praveen.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yes.
Yeah, so good to know you guys. I know Ravi, we actually stay in the same apartment as well. So, so good to know you. And by the way, I know Meghna, Dr. Meghna, quite a bit. So she knows me. We kind of interacted quite a bit, yeah.
Oh, okay, nice. So I would definitely talk about you with her. We'll get in touch.
Yeah. Okay, then thanks everybody. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.